Welcome back to How to Tickle Yourself. I'm your host, Duff McDonald, along with my co-host, Matt McButter. Today's is a first for this podcast. Our guest is an animal. Well, they're all animals, come to think of it, but today's guest is an animal represented by another animal. His name is Chunk the Groundhog, and he is, in my opinion, one of the greatest things the internet has ever produced. For so many reasons, they're hard to count. But I'm just kidding. Chunk isn't going to talk to us today. Our guest is actually Jeff Permar, who's here to translate for him. Jeff's from Middletown, Delaware, an avid gardener. He noticed a few years ago that everything he planted was being eaten. He suspected that the culprit was living under his shed, so he installed a motion detector camera to find out. It turned out it was a groundhog. But here's the best part. It's a groundhog who seemed to know that Jeff was watching, because he would grab whatever he was going to eat and then eat it, staring right into the camera. And everything Permar did to keep the groundhog, who he named Chunk, out of his garden failed. Everything. Chunk even started bringing his girlfriend, Nibbles, to join him at mealtime. And then it hit Permar. He would build Chunk his own garden. Chunk and Nibbles loved it so much that they decided to raise a family there, I think. And Permar even set up a picnic table for them, and then naturally began setting up their own social media accounts. While we try not to count things here on How to Tickle Yourself, Chunk's numbers are beyond impressive. He's got 230,000 followers on Facebook, over 500,000 on Instagram, and 115,000 on YouTube. I am thinking I should offer to co-write his autobiography with him. He's so much more famous than me. Welcome to the show, Jeff. You have tickled this household so many times. It's unbelievable. Thank you for that, and thank you for joining us.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. Such an honor, and it's good to hear your recap of the story. That was very well done. Thank you.
At the present moment, traveling town to town, the mystery of the motion, right here, right now, right here, right now, whoa, right here, right now.
Is that actually true? So, you found Chunk and then set him up, and then he brought his girlfriend and had kids?
Yeah. I mean, it was kind of a lot of trial and error at first. Like I said, when I first found Chunk in the camera, like I said, I was really upset about it. And like you had mentioned, I was trying everything in my power to prevent him from coming in, because like I was an organic gardener for like 15 years, so it's not like I was noticing like damage to like a topsy-turvy plant or like something like that. It was like I had a legitimate, nice, really nice garden. Spent a lot of time, and he would just come in and chomp it. And through the time as he was doing that, he kind of won my heart over. Because, like you said, seeing him in the camera and when he was popping up, he just had so much swagger to him that he didn't really care that I knew that he was eating the vegetables. Like he was like, yeah, I'm eating your vegetables. Thanks, appreciate it. And while I'm at it, I'm going to bring my girlfriend over, and we're going to have some kids, and we're all going to eat your vegetables. And it kind of won my heart over. It transitioned me from being the organic gardener to learning more of how to coexist with the wildlife. Because the groundhog was just so cool coming into the camera, popping up, and like you said, he turned into this internet sensation. And it's a every day, it's a daily thing now for me. I do a daily post every day just to keep it going. Even when they're in hibernation, I'll do a daily post to keep it going. Because like I said, people like yourself, they just get so much enjoyment out of it. So I feel kind of obligated to just keep it going.
So I read online that I was doing a little research on groundhogs, and they said they're one of the only animals that truly hibernates. right? So he's gone now. Or is he's on his way out, so you won't see them for how long? 4 months, 5 months?
Yeah. So like right now, what happens is they prep for hibernation. They take a lot of their stuff to the den, and I guess they like kind of put away a little snack. They'll do what's called like a pre-hibernation, where we won't see them for like, almost like a week, which is right now. Like I haven't seen them for a good week, but it's still kind of warm. So what's happening is they're kind of prepping their dens, but I totally suspect that they will be back like one or two more times before they hibernate. But they are a true hibernator. Their heart rate drops to like something like 10 or 15 beats per minute. Their body temperature drops to like 60 degrees. I mean, it's insane. And they go out cold. And they say February 2nd, like Punk's Tiny Phil and all that, but
all right.
Chunks are on their own schedule. They don't follow the February 2nd. They get up when they want to get up. And usually it's like February like 22nd.
So they're like clearly from his movements and just sort of how he hangs out on camera, that you can see there's an intelligence in the animal, right? And they're social. You can also see that too. Have you? Does he know you?
From afar. They definitely know. They look at, I guess, me coming out. And sorry, there's a helicopter going over because I live by like a helicopter base, so I'll just wait a couple seconds. All right. So they do kind of know who we are, I think, but I've always taken care of them from afar. I don't interact with them. Like I don't go out there and like try to like hand feed them or anything like that. My angle has always been that, I don't want them to trust humans because, groundhogs have a really bad reputation. So, I'm out there feeding him. He's all cool with me. And then, the neighbor might not feel the same way and could pop a cap in him. So it just happens around here. It's very common. In fact, groundhogs, they don't even have a licensed season for groundhogs. You can shoot a groundhog anytime you want.
Yeah, I was going to say, growing up on a farm myself, groundhogs were considered vermin, and they were dangerous too because of the holes that they dig.
Yeah.
We had cows and horses, and the worry was always a leg that goes down the groundhog hole. So our solution, this is also pre-internet. Our solution instead of a webcam was, sadly a 22.
Yeah.
So that still happens a lot. And does that, do you think everybody should get a webcam? Like what?
No,
I don't know.
I mean, yeah. I mean, well, see, there's the thing. I don't bring them like right up to my doorstep or anything like that. You know what I mean? It's like we live like around like a wildlife refuge. So, and I use the Blink camera system, and I have extenders on it. So like it seems as though like it could be close to the house, but Chunkland is probably about a good 100 yards from my house, and it backs up to the woods. And it's like a hedgerow, and it's probably the closest any groundhogs ever came to my doorstep's probably been a good like 75 yards. So yeah, I keep them away from the house. They can be destructive, they can dig, they can burrow holes, they can chew through stuff, they can do all that kind of stuff. But they can also be really cool.
So you often set up stuff on the picnic table for them. I saw one the other day, which was like almost looked like a tomato eating contest. Do they are they at the point now where they're like, let's go check what's on the picnic table today? Like, are they that smart to come and look for at mealtime?
I think so. I think they like work together. It's like, hey, he's coming out. Like what's he got now? And it's literally like drop and go. And the cameras roll all the time. They roll 24/7. So when it's like into the peak of the season, when they're really out there, it's like you see them all the time. They'll come and they'll eat it, and they'll like look at me from afar, but they're very skittish and standoffish. They won't approach. They book it as soon as they see you. It's it's funny to watch.
The one from just a couple days ago where he heard a dog bark and basically ghosted right out of the camera. He was gone. Did you see that, Matt? He's sitting there just hanging out.
Yeah.
And there's one dog bark in the background and he's gone.
Yeah.
So there's a skunk too. Tell us who else lives in Chunkland.
So we have Chunk, Nibbles are the parents that started it all. And then, so we adapted the name the Chunks. And then the next year they had Nugget, Chip, and Chibbles. And then the following year, they had Chewy Yummy Snacks, Wookie, and Niblet. And then this year it's Trippy, Grubby, Munchies, and CJ Jr. And CJ Jr. is turning out to be the coolest one because he's got the little bent over lazy ear. So yeah, but they don't all live there, right? It's they come and go, like they'll travel, they'll come through their ways. They have a summer den there, like by the garden, where like the whole like family comes and hangs out. And then they have like a winter den underneath the shed.
So at the beginning, when you were first battling, or before you decided to, just turn this into something positive, did you ever think, are you familiar with the movie Caddyshack with Bill Murray? Did it kind of like evoke some Caddyshack vibe? I think it's a gopher in Caddyshack actually, which, or a different animal from Groundhog, but kind of similar in terms of their maybe impact to a farmer or a golf course superintendent.
Oh yeah, definitely. It was Caddyshack. And in fact, like when he first started making a scene, like hit the scene, it was like, oh, Caddyshack was like the number one reference to him, And so it's fun. It is kind of like early on, it was kind of like Caddyshack when I was kind of figure out like who it was that was out there, right? And it was like, I kind of felt like Bill Murray. The only thing I didn't do is I didn't put dynamite in the ground.
No. Did you ever do a Bill Murray impression though? Like when you were doing
probably maybe a couple times.
So I saw the other day. So Amy Sedaris posted a remix of him dancing side by side with David Byrne of Talking Heads. You have basically, Chunk has reached, the upper echelons of global fame. What is the nature of your interaction with people? What kind of comments do you get? And do you actually, I haven't looked, do you communicate with the fans of the Chunks?
Yeah, I try to engage as much as possible with the fans. Engagement's really important. Kind of makes people feel special too. It's like, wow, Chunk the Groundhog replied to me. It's like, I just kind of like, it's a feel good thing, right? So I kind of just, I'd like to do it to make people have a better day, because apparently it helps. Like people will see a Chunk video and like the responses I get is like, and it sounds kind of weird, but they're like, I really had a bad day and I watched this Chunk video and all of a sudden like I'm cured. It's like, really?
Totally. It's
like,
ticklish.
It's like everybody's saying that across the board. And I'm like, wow, this is pretty cool. So that's one of the main reasons why I keep it going, just to, keep that vibe going.
And does, we don't want to dig into private matters here, but is Chunk a real business enterprise? Are you making money? Are you and Chunk coining some cash here?
Yeah, well, what we do, we share like wish lists and stuff on there with the wildlife rehabbers. Like Snacks. I don't know if you heard that story.
No.
Where like he had his teeth removed.
Oh no, I did see that. Okay.
Yeah.
So you got the people helped pay for his operation?
Yeah. So we like put stuff up there and we send the donations directly to the rehabber. So we were able to funnel a lot of money to help the wildlife too. And then like as far as monetization and stuff like that, his videos are monetized. It doesn't make a ton there, but it's enough to keep us going. And recently we started partnering with or trying to partner with like the Blink, because that's the camera we use. We want, it makes
Okay.
sense, So, yeah, what we like to do is try to help out the wildlife that are in this business as much as possible. There's a big benefit going on December 10th in Missouri. It's like this Wild Souls Wildlife. That's who started this whole thing for me. I had the snacks issue and I didn't know what to do. Where he had a teeth issue where they're growing like crazy, like this. You'll see like his videos, his teeth are literally like up in his nose.
Mm-hmm.
So we saw that and we intervened. I called them because that's the only person I knew because they were a fan of the chunks. And they said, hey, contact this animal help now. And I did that. And they contacted me to the rehabber. And we just started just funneling all of our support through there to just try to help snacks and help these rehabbers that are out there that are working for free, not making any money,
Did you ever type, just be honest here, did you ever type groundhog orthodontist into Google?
Yes. Groundhog braces, groundhog veneers, groundhog crowns.
So does he
canal.
So it started, he was eating your garden, then you made a garden for them. They eat a lot. Does he buy his own food? Does he pay his own way?
I wish. No, but he mainly eats out of the garden a lot. So like a lot of stuff that I put out there is just stuff that's there already. That was one of the benefits of the partnership is that, hey, I'll just provide all the vegetables. I'm already growing them. Just come and be cool in the camera.
And what is it? So back to the original thing. It's like my guess was always that because it's a camera and it's an unusual thing and you've put the food there that he's just hanging out looking at it. But does it actually seem like he knows that we're looking at him? Like, what is your explanation of what's going on there?
Yeah, it's so weird because I've noticed that too. It's like they just stare right into the camera. It's like, what are they doing? It's like it's like, are they mesmerized because they see the reflection from the lens? So early on, that's kind of what I was telling everybody is that why is he staring at the camera? And I was like, well, he's looking at his reflection in the lens. I don't know, they're just the ground. That's what they do though. It's not anything different, right? Like any groundhog will just, if you notice, they just pop right up and they just will stare blank into the space. And to catch that on cameras is really fun.
And do you, we have 3 cats in this house, and I realized at some point I was like, oh my God, I have created a whole story of all these cats' personalities that may or may not actually match up to true life. We've decided this one is this one is the that. What kind of guy is Chunk to you? What's he proven to be? In because you have to have conversations with him. You must all day.
Yeah, Chunk. I don't know. I think he's just like your everyday like blue collar worker. He's just trying to make it. He's just trying to get a meal. He's trying to take care of his family. He don't eat junk. Chunk don't eat junk. He needs that good stuff. He can't have no chemicals. He's got to have organic. He's definitely vegan. And yep.
What's his favorite food? What does he go craziest for?
His favorite food is definitely, I would say tomatoes, because I think it's something about the juice and just the sloppiness of it. It kills 2 birds with 1 stone. He gets hydration and food. Another fact though, is that the groundhogs, that's mainly they get a lot of their water from eating. So like, anything that has a lot of water in it naturally, like a tomato, they hydrate themselves.
Oh yeah, I saw that. It says they don't seem to drink water. They get their water from the things they eat.
Now I do have a water thing out there, with everything, and they just look at it like, it's pretty cool, and just keep going on. They rarely are in there licking or drinking. Although I called them a couple times, but I just think they were trying to catch like a crumb or something.
And wait, there's also, you got at least a squirrel, a skunk. What else? Who else is on the scene?
Yeah, sorry, I forgot to answer that part of it. But yeah, so a squirrel, possum, and a skunk. So like I wrote a song about it. It's like you got Chunk, Nibbles, Nugget, Chip, and Chibbles. And then, I threw in the squirrel, possum, and the skunk because the skunk kept coming by. And, again, far in the field, not by my house or anything, spraying my living room. But it was the coolest thing ever. It walked by the camera and its tail was like it just got out of the salon. And people were like, wow, look at that tail. I can't believe how awesome. And like, salon. And I was like, well, I think we should name the skunk Stinkerbell, like from Tinkerbell, but just add the stinker. So Stinkerbell. And that went over pretty good. The fans really like that name. And believe it or not, old Stinkerbell has mini stink now because it's a smaller version of her. And then we have possums, which we called Posse the Possum. Pretty cool names, like something that names rolls off the tongue. And Posse loves apples. He just sniffs out the apples. There could be carrot, piece of broccoli, whatever, and he'll find the apple, take the apple, run off. And then Pesty is like the star of the show right now because he's trying to get peanuts off the swing.
Right.
And he's always around. He doesn't hibernate. So Pesty is like 24/7, and the Chunks are they go on vacation for like 3 months, but then they come back.
Who's Pesty the squirrel?
Yeah, Pesty the squirrel. You'll see in the recent videos, there's a 500-pound pumpkin in Chunkland right now. And Pesty is very aware of it. He's like jumps on top of it, jumps off of it onto the swing. It's hilarious.
500-pound pumpkin. Okay, so last question before we let you go. Are all these guys, are the Chunks Phillies fans? Am I correct in seeing that? Are they rooting for the Phillies this year?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, when the Phillies clinched the World Series berth, Chunk's reaction was priceless. I actually did a video. I don't know if you saw it. And he literally just popped up in the camera and he stared like he does. But this time, for whatever reason, he stared even longer and like literally just dropped his food and was still like in a blank stare, like, the Phillies are in the World Series. What? So,
Jeff, thank you for joining us. The Chunks are, again, like I said, one of my favorite things ever. And you're right. I'll look at one. I'll grab my wife and say, look at what he's doing today. And we will both laugh. And so I can only imagine what the overall sort of effect you've had on hundreds of thousands of households on a daily basis, bringing smiles to people's faces, right? That's the way to do it. Let's bring tickles everywhere. And so we thank you for your service. It's so good. It's so good.
Thank you.
Thank
you, man. Guys. Duff, Matt, thank you so much for having me.
Yeah. Good luck to all of them. And
great talking to you.
We'll be watching.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. Take it easy.
Cheers.
Bye.
So, to me, the internet is a reflection of humanity, right? So everybody talks about how, the good or the bad or the ugly of it all. One thing that it does do, which we were not capable of doing before, is to broadcast legit humor and joy and whatever to millions of people from your own living room.
Yeah.
To me, the fact that what he's pulled off there is just astounding. That that he thought of it, right? Because he was trying to get rid of a critter, like you said, on the farm,
but didn't shoot it.
didn't shoot it, but has turned it into he's like a global celebrity.
Yeah. He was on Kelly Clarkson, a bunch of other talk shows and stuff. Like, it's awesome. I know a couple. I mean, I've got a couple of friends that live in more rural places and have set up the cams as well. I don't know if they use the blink. I hadn't heard of that one. It sounds like that might be meant for wildlife cams. So I think a lot of people do that. My friend Gareth Seltzer he's near Bala, and he set up a deer cam for a while, and he put the deer cam right near the feeders. My friend Mary Graham, I don't even know where she is, but I just noticed on social media, she had a bear cam set up for a long time, like a wildlife cam that would like pick up this family of bears.
Oh, we had one.
Really
Joey
cool.
had one in the chicken coop and caught a bunch of raccoons scaling the tennis court fence and coming in and picking food off the outdoor of the chicken coop every night. And they basically, it's like a what's that TV show when we were kids about the cat burglar who used to break into museums in Paris and stuff? What was that called? Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No.
So I forgot to mention I saw something the other day where some guy owns a little store somewhere, and a deer walked into his store, and he gave it like a cookie or something, and then sort of showed it, was like, okay, you got to go now.
Yeah, get out.
And like an hour later, the deer returned with all of his friends. So basically, he was like, you got to come check this out.
Yeah. There's a shopkeeper downtown who's giving out cookies.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like it's like when people do that with bird feeders and stuff, where there's clear communication going on. If you start feeding birds on your balcony, they will roll back in with all their buddies too. It's amazing though, the fact that there's I forget the word for it. It's when you like put anthropomorphize or something, where it's like you give them a personality. Like I totally have, when I see Chunk, I have a sense of his attitude. Yeah. Which would be a human one when all he's just doing is eating his food. It's great.
So was Chunk the inspiration for Rockledge Ralph? I know there's an account, Rockledge Ralph, although it wasn't, I don't think it was a real animal. Wasn't it a stuffed animal?
Rockledge Ralph is a finger puppet.
Yeah.
But you know what? Now that you say that, I think
might have had some. Yeah.
Rockledge Ralph got set up with its own accounts, and he was just all over the property, mugging for the camera. Totally. We must have gotten the inspiration from Chunk. I never even thought about that, but yeah, for sure.
He hasn't posted in a while.
He hasn't. He's been it's been busy times for him. So I have for you today. I've got one for you. This is unusual, right? It's a little unorthodox, but I found a poem by Robert Frost about a woodchuck, which is, close enough to a groundhog. Is it not? Right?
Is it a tongue twister?
It's not a tongue twister.
Because I've heard it before. I know that
so
one.
You can do that one. So here we go. Robert Frost. This is called A Drumlin Woodchuck. One thing has a shelving bank, another a rotting plank, to give it cozier skies and make up for its lack of size. My own strategic retreat is where two rocks almost meet, and still more secure and snug, a two-door burrow I dug. With those in mind at my back, I can sit forth exposed to attack as one who shrewdly pretends that he and the world are friends. All we who prefer to live have a little whistle we give, and flash at the least alarm, we dive down under the farm. We allow for some guile and don't come out for a while, either to eat or drink. We take occasion to think. And if after the hunt goes past and the double-barreled blast, like war and pestilence and the loss of common sense, I can with confidence say that still for another day or even another year, I will be there for you, my dear. It will be because, though small as measured against the all, I have been so instinctively thorough about my crevice and burrow.
Hmm.
Very moving,
So-
right?
Yeah. So woodchucks aren't really that different from you and I.
Right, exactly. I think the point of that poem is that he feels like a woodchuck, right? Every now and then we get a little
Exactly.
scared and we got to go into hiding.
With somebody special.
Exactly. So why don't we, on that note, why don't we find out what the Sage of Sages tells us about Chunk the Groundhog and what he means to her. Okay, we're back here with the Sage of Sages on a post-Thanksgiving day. Sit down with Chunk the Groundhog. It's a really good time to look at Chunk videos for gratitude of bounty and abundance. What's your take on the whole Chunk phenomenon, Joey?
I admire his dietary choices. He's living a sustainable life, it seems. And he seems pretty happy, pretty content. So he's sort of a role model.
Do you have the same taste in music as Chunk does?
I do admire the musical accompaniment to Chunk's life. It's pretty good.
And you are of the opinion, very much like Chunk's friend Jeff, that basically we should just feed every wild animal in the proximity and make it feel like our house is their kitchen too. Do you still feel that way?
I think that we live a very abundant life, and there's nothing wrong with sharing the overflow. That's what I think. And so, yes, sometimes I do share the overflow with the wilds, and also with the chickens and the cats. And, so yeah, I think, share what you've got. Chunk shares, like he's role model.
Do you think Rockledge Ralph could beat up Chunk the Groundhog?
No, no, no.
Thanks for sharing your abundant insights with us, Joey.
It's my pleasure. Thanks, Steph.
All right, wrapping up here. I've got an Oribindo that I think is really good. So one of the things that he talks about is that, and this is sort of Vedanta and yoga, is that everything is consciousness, right? So basically a plant, an animal, a piece of wood, you or me are all the same essential material, just at a different state of evolved consciousness. So we're basically the same as an animal, not in the classical Darwin evolution thing. It's just we're all different expressions of the same thing, just at a different level of manifestation. So he says here, the Lord of nature remains that immutable self, even while he is at the same time the one and multiple soul of the universe, and becomes in a partial manifestation all these forces, powers, consciousnesses, gods, animals, things, men. Point of that being is that you and Chunk the Groundhog are the same thing.
Stardust. We're all stardust.
Stardust, baby. Thanks for listening. We'll be back with you in a week.
Bye-bye.
At the present moment, traveling town to town, the mystery of the motion, right here, right now. Right here, right now. Whoa, right here, right now.
You've been listening to How to Tickle Yourself with your hosts Duff McDonald and Matt McButter. You can help us by liking, subscribing, and sharing this podcast with others. You can talk to us and see what else is happening on Instagram and Facebook at How to Tickle Yourself. This program was recorded in Studio B of the historic Rockledge Recording Studio and the Tunnel Under Arundel. Right Here, Right Now, our original 16-part theme music was written and recorded by the legendary Paul Reddick and Kyle Ferguson of the Sidemen, with the brilliant Steve Mariner on bass and drums and in the mixing room. The podcast is produced and distributed by Storic Media. Our editor is Andrew Steiner. Our coordinator is Samantha Abramovitz. Our producers are Kristen Verbitsky and Chuck LaBella. For more information, visit storicmedia.com. That's STORIC media.com.
My love, my dear.